Hello and welcome to the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. I'm your host, Ty Spiker Christensen. Beautiful girls all over the world. Yeah, baby. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Beautiful Boy. This beautiful boy's on drugs. He's injecting smack directly into his eyeballs. Let's get into it. We got Jordan Christensen on the podcast.
Drugs.
I took some drugs actually before the pod because I wanted it to be more authentic, you know? We got Kevin Mickle on the podcast. Woo!
Looks like I'm addicted to crack right now. Uh, I literally just.
That's actually a
Oh
quote from
yeah.
his movie.
Does this seem reasonable?
Does it seem reasonable? And we've got Stryder.
I also
Dude,
feel like I'm on heavy levels of morphine right now, Cam. Uh, I don't think you can save people. You can be there for them, can't you?
I need you to save him.
Deep.
Holly from HR. That's all I think of her role as. And I think of Michael Scott. I was like, oh, it's a little The Office reunion. That was fun. Holy crap, guys. Today we're discussing Beautiful Boy. Cameron, I'm driving right now. I don't want to give the dats about the movie or read while I'm driving. Read us up a little bit. Who directed it? When did it come out? Who's it starring?
It came out in 2018, directed by Felix von Groningen. Definitely butchered that. Written by Felix and David Sheff and Luke Davies, and based on a true story. That's why it's partially written by David himself. And then stars Steve Carell, Mara Tierney, Timothy Chalamet, amongst others. And yeah, and then the quick plot synopsis is based on the best-selling pair of memoirs from a father and a son, David and Nick Sheff. Beautiful Boy chronicles the heartbreaking and inspiring experience of survival, relapse, and recovery in a family coping with addiction over many years.
Sorry, Ty, you talking from your car. I mean, I can't not think of the Red Letter Media episode with Richard talking in his car and he's like under the freeway because he's homeless.
Well, this podcast isn't paying the bills yet. So, yeah, I am homeless. About late night working. Just like Stryder and Cameron going into the mines. Dude, they yearn. Children these days yearn for the mines, dude. All they do is play Minecraft all day, and then they actually literally work in mines thinking it would be something magical. How are them fire extinguishers and safety codes, boys?
Honestly,
Anyway.
I had a pretty good time outside of the 4:40 wake up call.
Yeah. Well, Freak, let's get into Beautiful Boy. What was it like watching this movie for the first time and rewatching it for the podcast? I'll start. I saw this on an airplane because I went to my the in-flight entertainment didn't have any. So I was like, oh, dang it. I'm on an American Airlines flight. And I'm like, I go to my phone and I look at Netflix. I have no shows downloaded. I'm like, oh, shoot. And I go to Amazon Prime. I had one movie downloaded and it was Beautiful Boy. And I was like, all right. I thought I was going to watch this sometime. Might as well on an airplane when I'm sucking down oxygen at 35,000 feet up in the air. So I watched it and yeah, it was a tearjerker. It was very sweet, very sad. And I shan't be watching it again, I don't think. This is one of those punishing movies. So good, but man, is it punishing. So, how about you, Jordan?
So Cameron may have put it on my radar. I think I'd seen an image of it before, but I actually thought, I don't know if I had mixed up Call Me By Your Name or I just thought it was like basically the same thing, but it was Steve Carell and Timothy Chalamet.
No. That's the one where he has with the peach. That is not the same movie, Jordan. Jordan kept waiting for that scene, though.
And I was really glad that Steve Carell was actually his dad. And it was actually reading Stryder's review that like, okay, now I have to watch it. And I'll put a link in the description for Stryder's letterbox, just so you know, and all of ours. But
so everybody attack Stryder for having the wrong opinion about movies.
No, it's great.
That's all I use Letterboxd for. I just attack Jordan and Cameron when they give the wrong rating for a movie. I'm like, what? 2 stars, 3 stars? What are you high? What are you stupid?
What are you stupid? Yeah, I basically stalk people on Letterboxd, and so yeah, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay, I need to check this out. And then basically the entire movie, I was just bawling my eyes out. Beautiful film. Wow.
No, it's Beautiful Boy. And we've got Cameron Mickle on the podcast. Cameron, tell us a little bit. What was like watching it for the first time, rewatching it for the podcast?
Yeah, this is like my Requiem. The amount that Jordan loves and thinks Requiem is beautiful. This is what I think of.
This is his Requiem for a Dream.
Okay. Yeah, this one's much more digestible for.
Much more.
You don't say.
Yeah, see, this movie proves that you don't maybe need to show every single terrible thing that could happen going through an addiction, and that some can
Amen.
read between the lines. It
But
doesn't have
Cameron, I feel like I'm on drugs when I'm watching it.
no, I feel like I need to take a shower and get my life together
Yeah.
after watching that movie. Versus this one, I feel like
Yeah.
the
I
focus
feel
is
more like someone that took drugs is pissing on me and calling it rain, Jordan, when I watch Requiem for a Dream. But
yeah. See, and this one, I also the reason I like it more too is I feel like it focuses more on the emotional side of kind of dealing with addiction and the effects of it on the people like in the addiction and then also those around them. And yeah, watching for the first time, I had it been on my watch list for a while, and then one of my buddies at work just said he watched it and he was like, yeah, it was devastating, but also beautiful. You have to check it out. And then I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And then, yeah, I watched it and was like, wow, super amazing and impactful. And then I was surprised that on rewatch how much more, because first time I watched that, it was 8 out of 10 for me. And then rewatching it, um, like the first hour and 15 with Stryder and then finishing the last 50 today, um, it's crazy to me how much better or more I enjoyed it, and also just how more impactful it was the second viewing. Because I thought I'm like, oh, this is one that like has so much weight the first time, but maybe won't have as much weight the second time. But I was so surprised viewing it the second time. One, it makes it so much sadder every single time. The first viewing, I was like, oh, like he might recover. Like I'm just going into this film knowing he's not gonna recover, and just every single time where he's at his high,
spoiler alert,
Well,
I'm
he
like,
does though at the end.
he
I
does
mean,
recover. He does recover.
define. He survived.
Yeah,
He-
he
Yeah,
survived.
and he says he still survived today. I mean, he's
no, yeah, I know, but like,
All it
um,
takes is one trip to go visit your dad out of state, and man, you relapse, man. I'm just saying, don't get out of your routine. You just need to keep your routine. Keep it for the rest of your life. And then
and
you might
then
love your dad. Have your dad come visit you, but don't get out of your routine.
and yeah, I was just because I also didn't cry the first time watching it, but thought it was super impactful, and then I cried, like multiple times on the second viewing, just because there were so many scenes that I was like, oh my gosh, this is so.
Cameron's like, this is an emotion I should be feeling. Is tears. So he pokes himself in the eye.
yes,
I'm
that's
feeling
literally what I was
something.
thinking. He was like practicing like the Joker, just
Oh,
practicing crying.
He's just laughing uncontrollably. Oh, sorry. These are actually tears. I can't help myself. I'm laughing uncontrollably.
But
Human
yeah,
emotions. What are they?
And
I think also like viewing it a second time was like I already was kind of prepared for the punch, and so allowed me to appreciate maybe more of like the artistic elements in the movie, because I felt like I forgot and just didn't really remember all of, like the cinematography, the score, like the soundtrack. But then like on the second viewing, since I kind of already knew the plot and knew what was happening, it just made me appreciate like it so much more.
Yeah, not gonna lie. I'd pretty much be as forgiving until my son threw up once in my car, and I'd be like, "That's it. You're done. You can't come around here anymore."
Yeah,
I did. I
it
couldn't
would
do
have been
it.
at that moment where Dad Byron would have kicked every single one of us out of the family if you threw up in the car.
Or even we're just bad mouthing down on here. Or freaking steal your brother's $8. You, dude, you're a terrible person. Oh my gosh.
oh, Cameron,
Stole his son $8.
just
His little brother's $8.
to add
Anyway,
to what you were saying, Cameron, about it being more digestible, is mainly because I feel like you follow the father a lot more than you do the drug addict, which I actually like a lot more in just this situation because I like Steve Carell. I'm not saying Timothy's bad, but I just don't think he's
To
as
think that
great.
he's bad in this film is actually
he is the chosen one. He's on game. Don't doubt it.
yeah.
He's
the
on
chosen
what?
one.
Lisan Al Gaib.
He's the Lisan Al
Oh,
Gaib.
Gaib.
He's
Jordan's
the
like, yeah, his
Gaib.
performance was all right. Like he looked
It
like he
was.
was dying.
He's
I
Gaib.
it's just
Just is crazy behavior.
Dude,
I
Timothy
mean, you've
Chalamet
seen
is
him in
the
other movies,
chosen one.
right, Cameron? I don't think he's like all that good. Like,
I believed
You
in
don't think
Lisan
he's
Al
good in The
Gaib.
King or Dune 2?
he's
What
he,
is wrong with you?
I just
Yeah,
it's not him. It's
Lord
he's
of
worked with
Play.
good directors.
It's him then, because he's working with good
I've
directors. I don't know
seen
what to say.
terrible
You might be
actors work with good directors.
Come
you
on,
might
guys.
be on
Willy
the
Wonka.
spectrum.
Willy Wonka? No.
I didn't see it, but I don't know if I will because it's not a huge draw for me. Because I'm like, just go watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Why would I watch Wonka? Anyway, that's me.
All right, let's
And
get
I'm
into
biased because I haven't seen it. But anyway, Stryder, let's get into it. What was it like
Yeah.
watching Beautiful Boy second or rewatching it for the podcast?
Well, my first time I was a little loner in my college room, and so I picked it up. Is it cool? Do you guys censor cuss words if I read my
You
my
can, you're,
letterbox?
whatever. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I basically just said, cried and pissed myself. I'm in love with this movie, and it makes me miss my father-son relationship. Goat movie. So that was definitely just kind of my first, I guess, thought process. And then watching it the second time with Cameron, I actually really enjoyed it for the purpose of being able to ask somebody questions, and it actually invoked some conversation between us about some of our personal relationships in our life. And so I think that's what I really like about the movie. It's thought provoking for me, and it does kind of, I guess, help me connect some of my confusing thoughts, even though it's on a much lesser scale onto what the movie is, because I'm not laying on a bathroom floor doing heroin, but it's a very, I guess, not relatable, but
Is it
something
heroin? I
can,
thought it was crystal meth. Sorry.
or
I
yes,
don't-
sorry, it is crystal meth, my bad. But yeah,
I think he
very,
does all of it. He's like acid. He does crack. Well,
That's
even
right.
the dad tries some crack. Did anyone forget that scene? That was something else. Dad's
Well,
like, oh, what's my son going through? Here, let me just snort this cocaine real quick. Oh, I'm gonna write a story. I can just imagine he turned into Michael Scott in that moment, dude. Anyway,
I know somebody commented about that. I think it was Colton.
no,
He
it was
said,
Colton's review. He said, "What happened to
Yeah.
Michael Scott and
and
what's her
Holly.
name and Holly's family?"
Yeah.
then the only
Oh,
other
that's
thing I was
terrible.
thinking was the percentage rate of like coming out of that, surviving that, only being in the single
Oh,
digits is just nuts to me. So I just feel for anybody
so
who's going through
tragic.
that.
Oh yeah, when he hits him with that news, and he's just like, "I don't know what people have been telling you, but he's like, the success rate is in single digits."
Yeah. Compared to
And
what the rehab center was telling him, that's
yeah,
just
and they're like
crazy.
on the lower end 20 to 30%, and they're like on the higher end like 80,
Yeah.
and then just to hear single digits, you're like, sorry,
Yeah.
what?
For a father, that's got to be crazy to
Mhm.
hear.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the saddest things for me was the that what did he say? The neuron receptors, they may come back after 2 years. He's like sober for a year and a half, and you're like, they know what they're doing. They're setting it up. Like he's like, if we can just get to those 2 years, maybe he can live a fulfilling life again. Anyway, it's just so sad. Oh, anyway, let's get into two of our favorite things from this movie. There's some positive silver lining, guys. I know we're talking about a movie about drugs, but let's talk about your two favorite things. Strider, you start us off first.
Okay. I mean, like I said, my favorite thing is honestly probably the dialogue. Just the thoughts that they were able to make me think. I don't know. I just there was just multiple scenes. More specifically, the one that stands out to me was them at the diner table, and connecting that to when he was a kid, and it being now him coming in with his eyes shot, and he's basically saying you to his father, and his dad's just trying to approach it in the best way he can with the research he's done. That's a part that really sticks out to me. And then also, I like how they make Timothy's character seem personable, even though it's obviously somebody that in your daily life you're not going to be hanging around. I remember during the scene where they show like the alleyways and the street he was hanging on. I turned to Cameron and was just like, man, like I couldn't last 10 minutes around those people. Like I would be petrified for my life. So I like how they were able to make a severe drug addict seem like somebody you could approach and actually talk to. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you're like, you're a little too handsome to be doing drugs, aren't you?
For sure. For sure.
You're like, come on, have you tried everything else? Have you tried modeling? You know? Jeez. Anyway, let's get into it. Cameron, what are your two favorite things?
Yeah, I think the first thing I kind of already sort of mentioned, but just I love the focus and how well this movie makes you feel emotion and so many different emotions. Because I also think that there's so many different emotions that like the people on both sides are feeling, and it's just like there's so I love like the juxtaposition of scenes where just like Stryder mentioned at the diner where it's like showing him as a kid, or the scene where he's walking away from like his parents' home, and he just like it's getting interspliced with him graduating high school, and then just like how proud his family was and how supportive they were, and then just like such a flip where it's like they're sending him off like back and hoping that he does good again, and then him just like contemplating essentially like his life choices and like showing how hard that's been for him and like how he feels because and that's what I think is so impressive is that combined with the music is just in every scene so crazy like when the mom chases after him in the van and then she just like stops and like there's just so many scenes like that and then like you come back and then the little girl's crying and it's like Steve Carell's comforting her because like how do you explain that to your like 6-year-old like kids? It's like, hey, yeah, your brother broke into our house and then when he saw that you were coming he ran. It's like how do you explain to them like your brother maybe still loves you? I don't know. It was just things like that. And especially that scene where he's walking away right after his little brother saying, like, oh, yeah, it was kind of weird at first, but like it's not that weird because you're just the same old Nick. And just how like pure that love is from his brother, I think is so beautiful. And then,
Dude, I thought it was that line of dialogue that made him relapse. He's like, I'm trying so hard to be a good brother right now. And you still think of me as the same old drug user, is what I thought. But yeah, you're right. It was innocent, right? I don't know.
yeah.
Do you guys have thoughts about that? I
Innocent.
thought that was one. Okay. Maybe
No, yeah,
just
because
innocent.
I thought because he said he's like, is it weird having me around? And I think
Yeah,
he was trying to like essentially he was looking for an out to say, no, yeah, you're like weird and it's weird having you around so that he could feel exiled. But then his brother was just like, maybe a little at first, but you're just the same old Nick.
Well, and I feel like his little brother didn't fully, I guess, understand what was going on. So I think to him it was just like, oh, my big brother's back around. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Like especially at that age, like it's hard to process like the full extent of his decisions. And
Oh my
then
gosh.
on the second viewing too, I just love kind of like Shredder mentioned, like how like the conversations that kind of spark from it. And I'm a perspective movie guy. Like I love when certain things can shift my perspective or change my perspective on things. And I just think it's so cool, like the different angles and how many different messages there are. Like the one really picked up on the second one is like sometimes the only thing we can do. Oh, I just said sometimes we can't help the ones we love. All we can do is be there for them and love them. And then I also said it's like it's important to also not to neglect um like the majority searching for the minority. And to me, I was like, this is why I believe in God and love Jesus, just because how scary, unfair, and sad life can be. Because to me, I'm like that just brings so much hope into life because of it's like this is not fair for either person, and that's why I love like what I led with the quote of him saying like, is this reasonable? And he's like, no, it's not reasonable. But he's like, that's my boy out there. Like, what do I do? And like that's so hard to like have to just let your son suffer. Like when he calls him and he's like, hey, I don't he's like I want to come back, but I don't want to go to rehab. And then like the dad who was willing to like essentially like abandon the family to go and try to find him like on the streets of LA has to tell him, no, like you know that what you need to do. You can call your sponsor. Like I love you. I'm here for you, but you know exactly what you need to do to like get better. It's just like so like heavy and hard.
Yeah, quote unquote, get better.
Yeah.
Because it's basically, it's almost like, what's the places you go, old people go to when they're gonna die?
Hospice care.
Yeah, it's basically a hospice almost because the percentage is
Yeah.
so low. It's just
Hmm.
like, man.
No, and that one lady at the group, that was the part that got me crying the most this second viewing was when she's talking about her daughter, I'm assuming, or like her sister or something who passed
Right.
away. She was talking about, she's like, I guess I'm in mourning, but I've kind of been mourning her because she hasn't even really been alive, like since she's been dealing with this. And that was just so
Right.
tough. And how she
It's a
was like,
husk of a person. Yeah. A shell of a person. Yeah.
and
That's
how she was just like, I just hope that she's no longer in pain. And then it's like she's saying that while it's being spliced with Timothy on the bathroom floor, like just curled up in a ball. And you're just like,
dirty
oh,
bathroom floor.
that was why
And then
I almost wanted him to pass away. That way he didn't have to like deal with all of that. But it's so impressive that he like has recovered and um like gotten back on away from that.
for sure. It's Jordan, what about you? Two of your favorite things. We haven't heard from you.
Yeah, so I really like, you really feel the moments of you like, oh, he's gonna relapse. Like when the girlfriend breaks up with him, you're just like, you know, that's gonna be the like excuse because he's doing so well. And then as soon as he started dating the girl, I knew right away. I'm like, oh crap, I like this is good for him, but also like the second something bad happens in that
Wait, when the
relationship.
girlfriend returns back into his life, like when they run into
No,
each
when
other,
she
or-
first breaks up with him and then he turns to the drugs because it's just like it's a way to escape. I'm just saying there's a lot of moments where you can like
is the first time that it ever did anything, was that when he went to his girlfriend's home and then he like took some drugs from the bathroom? Was that the first time? That was like one of the first times, right?
Yeah, that was kind of one of the first times that he kind of slipped up was when he saw the pills and then he started like taking some.
mm.
He took some pills and goes back downstairs and he's trying to just have a conversation and just feel normal,
Well,
right? Maybe he
Yeah,
in
because
that
he's
moment.
like he's sitting there and just like the family and he just feels very disconnected and stressed and just all those feelings. And so yeah, he went upstairs, saw the pills, and then he had a moment of like relapse and then was looking to
But was
escape.
that relapse? I thought that was his first time. I'm not sure when he
No.
Oh.
He had
first
been doing drugs
drugs.
like
No.
Oh,
the
okay. So
entire
he'd
time
been doing,
before. Yeah, remember that's
yeah,
when he's like, "How long have you been doing this?" He's like for years, and he's like, "You've been doing all these under. I thought you were just smoking weed," and he was like, "No." And that was when he was like rocking back and forth like on the bed, having to tell his like mom and dad everything that he'd been doing.
right.
And the,
Okay.
yeah, it's so
I
sad
remember
too.
that dialogue. I just thought maybe that was a glimpse into the first time he tried experimenting, but I don't know if we ever see the first time or anything like that. I was curious if that was the case.
No,
But
I don't think so.
okay.
And I think that also even further puts home the message where it's like Steve never even knew when was the first time. Even like probably he didn't even know like within 6 months of when the first time was, which is so sad because it's just like his son was battling this battle and that he had no idea about.
Right. Yeah, it's completely off your radar where it's like, oh, my son's a good kid. He's accomplished. He got into 6 different colleges. All the ones he applied to, he got in. This is an accomplished kid. And then you just find out he's got this crippling addiction. And you're like, what happened? Like,
Mhm.
and again, what was it? You can't save him or something like that. That was the line. Like, you can't save him, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, just be there for him.
Yeah, you
Oh,
can't
that's so
save people.
devastating. Yeah, and that's so sad. I guess you got to turn that over to God, but that is such a harsh message and a reality of substance abuse that's just so devastating. I think I have that personality. I really do. I think I get like really into things. I get way into them. So like I've never tried uh, any major substances, but like except eating, I can't stop eating. So yeah, other than that, I think I have that disposition. I don't know about you guys. Do you guys have addictive behaviors? I know I do. I have that disposition to be addictive.
Oh,
Well,
for sure.
I mean, we live in a time where like literally all social media apps are designed to keep you on, like everything's designed to make you more
Yeah,
addicted
well,
to.
guess what? I don't have social media, so
Well,
Well,
whatever.
or any phone games or anything
yeah.
or YouTube. So
I
You're
literally,
got
on
my food.
a
I just keep
constant
eating my
dopamine crave.
Taco Bell.
yeah,
Quiero Taco Bell.
yeah.
Yes.
But
So
Jordan, what's your second thing?
well, I already mentioned it. It was the perspective from the father. I liked that it was different, and it also you get to see not only the effects of like a drugs on a person, but what it's doing to the family, which I really like because a lot of times, especially with like addicts, they always tell themselves, "I'm only hurting myself," but they don't realize how much they're damaging their family. So
Yeah, dude, $8 from your brother, dude. Come on. I can't let that go.
The
Yeah,
character I
Dude,
actually really like to piggyback off of that is
yeah,
Steve's current wife. I think she has one of the coolest characters because she's trying to be there for the kid who's not even her kid. And you can see it in multiple scenes, but then like Cameron brought up earlier, the scene where she's chasing him in the car, like you see how much pain and how much grief she's going through for somebody she's not even in direct relation to.
Mhm.
And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because
mhm.
I feel like that scene, she's almost like wanting the pain to stop for her husband. She's just like, You're
yeah.
hurting my husband so much. Stop it, please."
Yeah.
And
And
she
then,
kept driving after him saying, I want my $8. Give me my $8.
yeah,
Eight
no,
My too.
dollars.
He's quoting Better Off Dead in case
no,
you
I
didn't.
know.
All right, sorry. I'll be serious now. So I like two of my favorite things. One thing, I think they did a really good job at showing the euphoria of drugs because you're like, why would anyone put themselves through this? But they did it in a really good way that didn't glamorize it. Like it's great when he first remember actually there was one first time where he tries the heroin, I think it was, or the meth, I don't remember which. and he's like, I don't know if he's longboarding, but he's got like a goofy cap on, and he's like looking around campus, got the dumbest look on his face. He's just like, I love it, and it made me unintentionally laugh only because it was a great moment where he's like, I for the first time, it was the best feeling I've ever had in my entire life. And it's really sad to think that there might be, you cross that line where you're like, I've tried it, now I know what it is, and I don't know if I'll ever get back because it'll shut down all your receptors for endorphins and all that stuff, right? Like whatever it does to you, right? Hard drugs. And then the other scene where he's in the bathroom stall and he's overdosing or whatever, and he's trying out the drugs, and he's like in this dirty bathroom stall, but there's like this beautiful lighting above him in the stall, and like you see him like from beneath the stall, and he's like collapsing on the floor, this dirty bathroom floor, but the lighting is beautiful, so it makes you think like, I mean, again, I don't know, it just kind of made me think of Train Spotting a few
When he
times where
dives in
it's
the
like,
toilet, yeah.
yeah, a little bit of that where it's like it's so gross and yet really beautiful at the same time. Like I don't know what to call that. It's like ironic or something, but really well done, because again, it's not glamorizing it. It's very clear to see like the effects that this actually had. They certainly don't try to glamorize it in any case. Like you can't watch it and make a case that it's glamorizing it, but it does a good job at just showing the euphoria that drugs could hold on somebody. Because I think it's really easy to like, as someone like I've never used hard drugs, and I'm like, oh, well, why would you ever even cross that line? Why would you ever try it? And Stryder said it best. They're making a character that's very easy to be like, I don't get it. Like, I really don't. Like, you're almost like, couldn't he have just been a loser his whole life? Then you would almost understand it more. It's just like, you're a kid with so much promise and potential. But honestly, I think it is people like that that either it's just either the circumstance or the people they were with that encouraged them to do it, peer pressure, whatever it is. They try it one time and it's like they have that disposition where they're just hooked, right? They have that tendency to become like really harshly addicted to something like that, and it's really sad. So anyway,
Well, and
well
I
done.
think this also shows like a firm belief that I have is that there's like no such thing as good or bad people. I hate when parents always say like, "Oh, he was such a good kid," or "He's such a good kid," because like
Yeah,
they
because
use
Cameron never heard it. Oh,
because
got him.
because usually I feel like adults always say that in regards to a child's resume, and so it's like, oh, he's like really good in school, or really do like he's going places, this and that, and it's so rarely about the character of the person, and so that's what I love about this is it shows that it's like there's no such thing as like good or bad kids or people. There's just people who make good or bad decisions, and you just see that like this is just a kid who is like made some bad decisions that have led to like a difficult situation, and it's like but he's like still like when he's making good decisions, it's like he's a great loving brother to his younger brother, and then also can be a great son to his dad, and even like a great stepson to his mom. Um and like I just think things like that show how humane and also how flawed like all of us are, because I think that's the other thing too that I like that Stryder mentioned is I feel like it's so easy to like demonize or be like I would never end up like that, or I could never be in a position like that, but it's like he like Timothy literally just could have been offered like coke like once or whatever at like a high school party, said yes, and then like eventually just like kept hanging around those people, or even just said like just kept saying yes when people would offer him things like that, and then it just led him to the situation that he was. And it wasn't even like, oh, this kid's out here searching to find like, oh, let me see how I can totally ruin my life and those around me. It was just like one kid who's like still loved by many and still probably loves others, and that's why I felt so bad is I hate when you see him like starting to manipulate his dad and his like own family. Like that scene where he's at the diner and he's just like I just need $200, and you're just like, oh, it's so sad because you see Steve's there to receive that emotional validation and just love from his son to be like, hey dad, I missed you and I love you and I'm doing all right, and like all Timothy is seeing it as is a transaction. He's like, what do I need to say to this dude so I can get $200? And it's
So like
just
he's almost like
Yeah.
living a double life because when he, like you said, when he probably was at a party and picked substances up for the first time, that was his reality in that moment. And then when he goes home and he's around his family, he's the loving brother, like you said, and all that jazz. And then I feel like we kind of get to see those interlinking, and you see that aggression start to come out, and you see how it affects the family. So I kind of like that too, because in his mind, I'm sure he's thinking, oh, I'm good in both scenarios, but unfortunately they just don't work that way.
Yeah, they
I don't
bleed
know why
into
Timothy
everyone.
didn't just use the voice and command Steve Carell to give him the $200.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Ty-
buddy, I'll be
Ty-
here all night. I would just say the performances too. Steve Carell, even though he yells once and it made me think of Michael Scott, because the way Steve Carell yells is Michael Scott, it was very well done. And I'm amazed at that man's range because Michael Scott made me laugh countless times, nearly to tears. And then his performance in this nearly brought me to tears. So very, very sweet. And Steve Carell, man, he's one of the GOATs. He's one of the greatest.
And see, and that's I also think the reason the emotion hits so hard in this is I think the performances from Steve and Timothy I think were much more subtle too. I think a lot of it you could just like, yes, Jordan, can I help you?
No, nothing. I was about to make a joke, but I'm trying to restrain myself.
Thinks Timothy
I was gonna say
overacted.
no. I was gonna say Timothy so underacted because you
Gosh.
said so subtle, so subtle.
Underacted.
Um,
No, I would give him that. He
because
had
that's
some moments when he was going
because
for
that's
it,
what I
like
just
that
think is
jerk
so
face.
cool is like even towards the last like shot, you can tell that Timothy's like trying to keep a good face and like
Wait,
trying to
can you?
and like
I
I
think
just
I think every movie should end with a hug from Steve Carell. That's all I'm saying, dude.
yeah. And I just think
That's
it's so
just sweet.
beautiful that like you see he's even still trying to put on a good face for his dad and act like, oh no, everything's all right. And I think that kind of goes along with what Strider's saying of like his
Just
two
almost OD'd a few minutes ago. Yeah,
yeah,
everything's
exactly. Like
fine.
his two
Everything's fine.
separated lives have now completely bled together to where now it's one scary and ugly thing that he like is trying so hard not to show his dad, but and yet his dad still loves him regardless of seeing both of the lives bled together. So just thought that was super cool. But yeah, definitely recommend, especially I mean if you're into dramas at all or if you like are into perspective movies, this is one that I think everyone should watch at least once.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I like what you said too, Cameron, about like you mentioned the group therapy session and how, yeah, drugs, you think it's just something you're doing, but how quickly it affects so many people that you're around, right? Like there's even a brief glimpse where he's shooting up drugs the first time with his girlfriend in his dorm, and she's like, I don't know about this. And we never see her until later on. And then it's like, I don't know if she tried the drugs with him when he tried it the first time, but she clearly tries it the next time. And again, in that moment, it seems like a wonderful evening. And then like immediately after, it's like, oh, this is bad. He has immediately like try to go home and try to, I don't know, what was he trying to do? Rob more money or find a stash or something, right? He goes back to his old house. It's just so heartbreaking and it's so sad because again, can you help yourself, right? Like this habitual, chronic, disabilitating need to do drugs is so sad and heart wrenching. So anyway, get help. A 10 to 12 step program, man. I've tried it. It's great to do hard drugs, but get yourself help, man. What Cameron, do you have like the drug help hotline? I don't know if any of our listeners are doing hardcore drugs, but if they did, they should start. Get help, not hardcore drugs. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Okay, I'm done talking. You guys talk. Cameron, speak for me.
No, we just end every
I'm thinking
podcast
myself
with well,
unknowable.
Strider, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I did like what Ty was kind of talking about, like what his starting point might have been. That made me think of the scene where he's smoking pot with his dad. Like I even wonder up to that point what he had tried, because in the conversation he makes it seem like, like what if I just smoke pot every once in a while? And I'm like, dude, you might be popping tabs and like there's a lot of things you might be doing right now that we just have no idea. So I do kind of like that perspective because we truly do have no idea when it started. And then I do think I
And
would
that's
recommend
why
this movie.
it's not even a big deal. Maybe just to your point, it's not even a big deal to bring up pot to your dad because he's like, dude, if you had any idea of the stuff I'm actually doing, this seems very menial. Like to smoke a joint with your father. Like
Very
Well,
you should
that's
see
minuscule.
the other
I
stuff
also
I'm
feel like
into.
it was a feeler conversation where he's like, how much would my dad just be disappointed and hate me if he found out what I truly was?
Yeah.
And then like
Yeah,
that
or
he
the stuff
saw
I was doing, right? He gave me such a stink about the freaking weed. I can't
well, yeah,
imagine.
he was
Like,
just
yeah,
so he saw how much concern there was, like that there was still love, but
yeah,
how concerned he was, and then like just wanting his son to be safe and make good decisions, and then like him feeling like maybe, oh, I already have like failed then, like
Yeah.
I'm already past saving.
Yeah. And then I would recommend this movie. I think if you watch it and you don't leave with at least a minuscule perspective change, you just might be like crazy low key. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this movie to people.
I always wanted to see him like throwing a bandana and be like, "Hey, it's prison, Mike. Don't do drugs. You're gonna end up in prison, and there's dementors everywhere." Would have loved that, dude. I freaking would have died. The movie would have transcended.
And also, if you're
Uh,
struggling with a relationship with your father, I would definitely recommend because that is a great
oh no.
movie.
Oh, I love that, dude. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, man. Oh, I this movie, man, gets you in the feels, gets you in the feelers. Just need a good cry. Put this on. It even got Cameron, the sociopath, to shed tears. That's saying something, dude. He didn't cry. He didn't cry with the extermination of the Jews, man. He
That is
still cared
not.
enough to cry about a druggie.
I
I
Um,
guess
also
Kevin
probably
just
wouldn't
like
cry, to be
being.
honest.
well, also because they prefaced it and said, if you don't cry in this movie, you have no soul.
That's
I
right.
was like, well, I
Yeah.
gotta feel something.
And so they're like, all right, we're watching Schindler's List. And then I watched it and I was like, wow, that was super impactful and beautiful. And they're like, you didn't cry, you sociopath.
Uh,
It's
Cameron's
also because
like,
the
oh,
entire time
I
they're
don't
like
know what the
looking
big
at me
deal
like,
is.
are you crying? I'm like, it's kind of killing the vibe every 3 seconds when I look over and you're glancing at me to see if I'm crying.
Dude, I'm
Like,
worried
Mom,
about that for
read me
my
a
wedding
Christmas
because
story.
everyone's expecting you to cry, and I'm like, dude, I might just be happy. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I don't
And
think I
then
cried at my
and
wedding
then
day.
and then we finish every podcast episode talking about what we've seen lately and what we're looking forward to. Stride, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. I can't remember exactly what the last couple of things. I mean, I think I've watched recently Eternal of the Spotless Mind. I butchered that title 100%.
Eternal sunshine of the spotless mind.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I also saw Deadpool and Wolverine. I saw Longlegs and
Some bangers,
Too
dude.
Hot to Handle on Netflix. That's a real good one. Real solid.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm joking.
Fun,
That's
fun.
just one I watched with my girlfriend, but that's what I've been watching recently.
Okay, sick. Anything you're looking forward to?
Ooh, this might sound weird. The Pharrell Lego movie. I'm really stoked for that. I've always
Yeah.
loved Lego movies, had a weird childhood niche for them. So, and with a music artist, I think it'll be really cool.
100%. It's so cool. Yeah, Pharrell Williams is doing essentially like his autobiography movie about himself, like and his like producing music in Lego form. So
Yeah,
super
excited
sick.
for that. Also, I've been watching Shameless. I should mention that. I've been really enjoying Shameless. It's a great TV
Shameless
show.
is great.
William H. Macy, let's go.
And then
It's
I
a day spa. Have we done cellular on this podcast? We did do
No,
cellular.
we need to. He's
And
We
then
haven't? Are you sure we haven't done
We
cellular?
have
I know we
not.
talked about that length.
yes,
Yeah.
we have not. I have been watching. Well, I just finished the new season of House of Dragon with Jordan. The IMDb scores on some of the episodes, man, people might be on because it was so solid. Like I swear, people are like, "Where's the action?" I'm like, "Have you watched Game of Thrones?" It's like out of like 8 seasons, there's probably like a total of like an hour and a half of like fighting scenes. I'm like, so much of it is politics and character development. That's why it's amazing. And
More
this,
impactful, right? I didn't
yeah,
even watch it, and I know what
yeah,
you're saying.
well, and
Like,
that's the thing. That's the thing
yeah.
too. Is I'm like, it makes the action scenes more impactful when it's like I'm so invested in this character, or there might even be characters on both sides of this war or battle that I care about and don't want to die. So it makes like they're more meaningful when people like go into these battles because I'm like, oh crap, and it's one of those shows that you're actually worried people will die. But yeah, the new season House of Dragon was really good, and it's setting up for what season 3 is going to be excellent. And then also watched a little bit of the new Batman on Amazon Prime called Batman Caped Crusader. It's got kind of mixed reviews. A lot of people are hating on the voice of Batman, but I'm like it's hard to compete with Kevin Conroy because he literally is the perfect Batman voice, but he passed away. So it's like, of course he's not going to compete. It's like the dude who everyone grew up knowing as the voice of Batman. Of course, this new dude is not going to live up to that. But and plus, I'm like, this isn't the first dude who's voiced Batman that wasn't Kevin Conroy. So for me, I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. But it's like this, it's like a 1950s kind of vibe of Batman, which is kind of fun. And then also been watching a little bit of um My Adventure with Superman, which is pretty enjoyable. And then I have Battle of the last 2 episodes of season 6 of Game of Thrones that I'm watching tonight that I'm so excited for. And then I also watched The Water Boy with Jake, and then also watched it a little bit with Stryder at the hotel. That movie is so funny. Oh my goodness. It makes me laugh. Like I don't it's one of those that dude, I understand why Adam Sandler got so big, like comedy wise. When you just go back to his old ones, like Happy Gilmore and this one, like it's just so funny. It's also crazy to me that someone could play like a mentally like person and get away with it. Like so many of those comedies just had the most insane premises. Like same with like Mrs. Doubtfire or whatever. But yeah, for me, Waterboy is like a solid 8 out of 10. And then I also watched a comedian, Nate Bargatze, he's the greatest average American. It was pretty fun. Nothing like amazing, but enjoyable. Because I'd seen some of his stuff because Ryan really likes his stuff because it's clean. And then the one that I watched that had been on my bucket list for eternity, and I was like on my deathbed last week throwing up. And so
Jesus.
and I lost like 9 pounds. And so I was like,
Can't come back to us. Stop doing drugs.
Yeah, and so I was like, what better time to watch than to watch Meet Joe Black, the 3 hour movie that I've been putting off for eternity when I'm like bedridden. So I watched it, and holy fudge. One, in my review, I said, move over Gyllenhaal. I said, move over Mondo Burger. Holy cow. Dude, 1990s Brad Pitt is maybe one of the most attractive men I've ever seen in my life. It's insane. Um,
Have you seen Fight Club, Cameron? You've seen Fight Club?
Yeah. No, yeah.
Okay.
I still think he's more attractive in this one. I was over him the entire film, but I thought it was a really interesting concept, and like I thought it was also done pretty well. Like it's a
Well,
little bit.
Cameron, you've been married to a with all that leather.
If
All that
1990s
leather.
Brad Pitt was
You heard it here first, folks. We asked the
and
hard-hitting questions.
but I think there's obviously a couple moments of cheese where like they're trying to do like the voice of death talking to what's his name, Anthony Hopkins, and I was like, is this the prequel to Silence of the Lambs? um but but I thought it was like real, besides there's like a little bit of cheese right there, like I thought it was such a high concept done so simply, and I just really enjoyed that essentially like the like death possessing the body of a person or of someone who passed away trying to experience the real world for like a week, and just or as long as he can stay entertained. And so he's essentially telling this dude like, okay, you're gonna like, I'm here to take you, but as long as you keep me entertained, and your life is really interesting, and I want to like learn more about it, and so as long as I'm entertained here, then you can live, but the moment I get bored, you're dead. And so it's just like a crazy concept, and I just saw like the chemistry between Claire and Brad.
Kind of like the Death Note in a way, isn't it? It's like
Yeah, a
I'm gonna
little
take
bit.
your soul, but you're kind of fascinating to watch. So I'll let
Yeah,
you
it is
watch
kind of
it.
like a little bit of like a light Yagami and Ryuk relationship. And so
Yes.
it's so interesting too, because he also tells Anthony Hopkins, the moment you tell anyone who I really am, he said, our adventure will be over. And so it's like, and that's the thing too, is he's acting so weird or whatever. Like a person was like gives him like peanut butter, and that's like one of the main things in the movie. He's just like acting so weird because he thinks peanut butter is like the best thing he's ever had. So he's like at this like 3 course dinner place or whatever, and he's like, do you have any peanut butter? And they're like, I could check, sir. And it's just like so interesting to see him experience things and like interact with humans. And then also it's so cool because to me, I think um like you see death start to understand why humans fear him or it, and you just see but you also see that people who live a worthwhile life like don't fear it, and how some people are just like ready to be taken and stuff like that. So but yeah, really enjoyed it. It made it into my top 200 and might sneak its way into my top 100, but it's just so slow. I don't know if I could like rewatch that again, but it's definitely something I would want to show the people in my life about. But yeah, and then yeah, just watching that, and looking forward to I still need to finish the last 2 episodes
Your
of The Boys.
1990s Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I still need to finish the last 2 episodes of The Boys because I finally finished House of Dragon, and then once I finish Game of Thrones and The Boys, I'll just be like, Okay, now I can
You
breathe.
need a nice shower, maybe read the
Yeah.
scriptures or something.
Yeah, because I'm like, there's so many series that I have going on. My brain's like, "Ah." But yeah, enjoyable.
Love it. Jordan, how about you?
You can just read my letterbox. What about you, Tim?
Okay, pretentious.
Wow,
Tell us at
okay,
least
yeah,
one.
jeez, holy crap.
It's hard to
Just read
keep
my
up with your
letterbox.
keep
You
up with your
guys.
letterbox when you post like 4 movies a day.
Between 1 to 5.
Oh my goodness.
I was talking to Todd, like she had to limit us watching movies together to just 1 movie a week, and I'm like, that's less movies than I watch in a day.
Maybe you need help, Jordan. Maybe
The-
there's like a hotline out there for people that are addicted to movies.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
Are
my.
you on this kick where you're
It's,
like you have to like watch all these
if
movies so you can review them on Letterboxd? Is that what you're
if
kind of on
that's
or not?
wait, say that again.
I was curious if any of you got that feeling where you're like, oh, I need to start watching more movies so I can leave reviews on Letterboxd. Because
Oh,
like,
I
do you
am
ever get that?
rewatching a lot of movies that I'm like, I want to share how amazing this movie is, and maybe I should just like remember, but I'm like, maybe I'll have a different feeling on this viewing, and that was the
Oh
case
yeah,
of some of the older movies that you were like ragging on me about, like Indiana Jones and stuff,
Indiana
because
Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark is not
it
a
is
3-star movie.
it is a classic, but I've just seen it 1,000 times growing up, and so watching it now, I'm just like so burnt out of it. Like you don't get that same
So
excitement.
maybe you shouldn't watch it until you want to watch it again.
I thought I
maybe
did.
like how the
Crazy idea.
Oh, I thought I did. I
That's
started it, and and there's parts I still enjoyed from it. So 3 stars enjoyed.
3 stars. Raiders of the Lost Ark. You heard it here first,
Jordan's
folks.
like, I just
Jordan
ate the
knows
same meal for
nothing.
every single day for like eternity, and then for some reason now I just like don't enjoy it anymore.
This filthy Philistine doesn't understand the first thing about cinema. I just want to apologize
Anyways,
to our listeners.
the only thing I want to quote is just what I texted Cameron, and that was about quoting Zodiac when the guy's like, they were, if you're wondering about those knives, it was from chickens I killed earlier. Like, I would love to see them run
Yeah,
D&D on
because
that.
Jordan asked me if the animal crackers, because I have animal crackers right next to my couch where I watch a majority of my movies, and then Jordan just asked me. He said, "Is the reason you have animal crackers at your house because of the Zodiac?" I said, "Haha, no, just a crazy coincidence." He said, "I'm sure if they checked the blood on those knives, it would definitely just be chicken blood."
That's so good. Oh, those knives! Like,
And
I
I said,
love how
"Haha,
he's
yeah,
just
it
like,
was, I swear."
I love when he's just like literally, they're not even asking him, and he just starts throwing like
Yeah, like
guilty.
spot on, like things that they're looking for, and I'm like,
Yeah, he's like making himself look so guilty.
oh, and I hate how they're like, his handwriting doesn't match. I'm like, I'm not about the handwriting. Shoot him right now.
Dude,
Cameron would be a great cop, dude.
it's a masterpiece. Anyways, Ty, what about you? What
Well,
have you seen?
I went to the movie theater yesterday to watch Deadpool 3,
Don't
the
spoil.
Deadpool
Don't
Wolverine
spoil.
movie.
I'm gonna see it on Tuesday.
Maybe we should do it on the pod because I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts about it. But anyway,
I
that's
mean,
a 3-star movie.
it is your pick.
Yeah,
So.
it is my pick. And maybe we just do that because I don't know if I'll get to see another movie then. So I'll save my thoughts on it for later. But all right, well, I watched Deadpool versus Wolverine. So that's a movie. And that's pretty much it. I haven't seen anything else.
It was one of the movies of all time.
It was one of the movies of all time.
I
Certainly
love those.
broke the
I love those Morbius reviews where they're like, "This was one of the movies of the decade."
It is one of the movies.
This was a movie.
This was definitely a movie. It's Morbin time. Well, folks, thanks for tuning in to Future Hit Movie Gems. Leave us an email, futuremovies@gmail.com. Do you still check that email, Jordan?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
I have a couple of good reviews if you want to hear them.
Reviews from listeners?
Yeah.
Guys, this just in. We have a listener that wrote in.
I was like, oh, I hope Ty and Cameron had seen these because they were surprisingly nice. Usually people are just ragging on us, telling them how
Where's
much.
the
like, watch more
movie?
Indian films, and I'm like, chill, man.
So, and Longlegs, the storyteller 8486, she said this movie was terrifying to me. That one wasn't really a compliment, but she just commented on it. And then Michigan J Frog, she said on What's Up Doc, she said, it's so fantastic to see young people getting this movie and loving it as much as I do. As much as I have loved this movie since the 70s, it is truly way underhyped. Smiley face.
Yeah.
So just
Of course, we're well versed. Thanks to our mom, because she has excellent taste in movies as well. Except for her Hallmark garbage.
And somebody, Ty, because you said leave a comment if we missed any quotes from Napoleon Dynamite. You're like, I'll probably forget. Somebody said, a liger is bred. Wait, what? A liger bred for its magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Dude,
forgot to mention
the one that I missed was the one that I'll never forgive myself was, what are you going to do today, Napoleon? Whatever I feel like it. Gosh, it's like the funniest quote of all time. And I can't believe I missed that. Like, I'll never forgive myself. I'll never live that down. But I love it. I love it. Listeners, keep leaving us comments. I don't care how insignificant they may seem. We don't get a lot of comments. So we're like, oh my gosh, people listen to this. They can have opinions. So
somebody else other than our sister listens to this.
Not even our mom listens to this. Anyway, guys, this has been great. We love you, listeners. Take it easy. Stryder, thanks for coming on. Hope we haven't hardly offended you. Come
love
back.
you, boys.
Lots of love.
No, this is always a good time. I love it.
Yeah, I'm actually jealous that you and Cameron got to talk about this movie afterwards, because one of my favorite times ever was after Oppenheimer. We just sat outside, talked about the movie for an hour. It was amazing. That was so good.
That was really good.
I'll come see movies all the time. I'm much closer now, so let's do it.
Yes, please.
Let's go. Peace and blessings to you all.
Bye.
Get help. Don't do drugs. That was a good movie. Why are you on drugs?